A few years ago, I embarked on a clean eating lifestyle. It started with learning how to read labels, and well, from there, I had to give up the processed foods. I've since stocked my pantry for home cooked, real food success. After all this, there are a few things that I grab right off the store shelf for times when I'm in a pinch or to bridge the gap until I have my own clean eating options. So I'm talking about these fast five, almost legal prepared items today, how I fit them into my lifestyle, and why I love them. One of them might actually surprise you. My name is Laura, and welcome to Applewood. Peanut butter tops the list of my store-bought items, and organic peanut butter is the item of choice since it has only two ingredients, organic peanuts and sea salt. Less is more when it comes to off-the-shelf items, and you should always read the labels when you buy just to be certain. Of course, this is not the stuff you ate when you were a kid. There's always this really thick layer of oil on top when you buy it, and, well, storing it upside down the cupboard isn't the best way to make it creamy. It's going to need to be blended. I always pull out the big stand mixer. There's really no substitute for this part, and yes, it's going to be messy. So to start, you should just drain the oil off, and this can be saved for just about anything else. It really won't be needed in the final product. And here is where you can add the sweetener of choice. I choose to add a bit of monk fruit, and then the most important item is, of course, chia seed. To that, I then add hemp seed, and you can use this or you can substitute chopped peanuts. And lastly, a bit of lightly ground flax seed. And I'm adding a scant 2 to 3 tablespoons of each, depending on your taste. Now, chia seed is very necessary as it allows the peanut butter to stay mixed. It keeps it from separating. The hemp seed is necessary for bulk, and the flax seed does a little bit of both. And in the end, I have a fully integrated, creamy, chunky product that stores very nicely, and it doesn't have to be remixed when you eat it a week or 2 or 3 later. Buying fully organic peanut butter will always be my mainstay. I am seriously going to master the art of making ketchup one of these days. So what you see here is close, but no cigar. I made this from the green tomatoes in my garden, and while it is very tasty, it's not ketchup. And I also recently made this version, which is going to be a fermented recipe, but it's going to be a few months before I can decide if this is the recipe I want to go with. It, of course, has honey in it. In this case, it is raw honey along with raw cider and a lactic acid brine from my fermented onions. While it's promising, it's really not ready for prime time. I still need to figure out if this is really the recipe I want to go with. And you know, it's just not hard to make condiments. Here is a red wine mustard that I had some fun with. And this is one of those penny pinching things you can do that will benefit you. It's certainly worth the effort. And if you want to do a fermented version, well then, win-win. But in the meantime, I have found that Meijer's has this really good sugar-free ketchup under their private label, and I haven't found anything like it. I love this. It's a bit pricey at $2.79, but since I don't use the amount of ketchup I once did, I can, for the foreseeable future, go ahead and justify the purchase. So the ingredients of this ketchup are listed here. There is always one questionable ingredient, and in this case, it is the nefarious natural flavors ingredient, which nobody knows what constitutes that term. The law hasn't caught up with food manufacturing, and as a result, oftentimes the term can literally mean just about anything. So this means that one day I will be replacing this item with my own homemade, but it is unlikely that my 8-year-old is going to be happy to use homemade ketchup. So in the meantime, I will buy this. So despite the addition of natural flavors, I would highly recommend this product any day. Here is another thing that is really hard to find a clean version that actually works as a real pasta. And recently there's been an uptick of some grain-free options, and I usually go for the chickpea version. And this works rather well, though you can tell there's a difference in texture. The flavor is good, and at about 20 to 22 carbs for a small serving, it's one of those things that I only like to have on a once-in-a-while basis. And then the other day I came across this item. Yes, it's black spaghetti. It's made from soybeans, which is not to be confused with soybean additives. So I chucked this into the cart to give it a go, and boy, was I ever surprised with its texture and flavor. It was so good. I made a 3-ounce serving to share as a side with my husband over dinner, and it was just delightful. We both had about 1 ounce, making the net carbs for this side dish at about 5 to 7 for that serving. And it's likely that I will keep both of these items as an option in the years to come. And no, I won't be making my own pasta. It's just too much work. So one of the things I so often miss when on a clean food diet is quite simply bread. It's no lie that commercialized bread is one of the dirtiest foods you can eat, with little to no nutrition, topped off with a plethora of commercial food additives and lots of unnecessary sugar. And I'm looking into doing my own bread in the years to come, but for now, I have a standby that I can eat only on occasion when I have that huge desire for basic comfort food, because there's no substitute for real bread. And I choose this one quite often. It's Aldi's Simply Nature Thintastic Seed Bread. I have read the ingredients of practically all the store-bought bread brands out there, and there are very few good options. While I love Ezekiel sprouted bread, it's almost $7 to $8 a loaf. It's kind of steep in the pocketbook. And this Thintastic bread comes in at a respectable 9 net carbs per slice if you're counting carbs, and it has all the qualities that are otherwise missing when trying to eat a low-carb real food option. This is sometimes a treat, and this is the list of ingredients. So if the makers of this bread remove the sugar, it would be an improvement because, in my opinion, it's a pretty clean option. It really has a great taste and it toasts so nicely. So this is perfect when I am just really wanting it as a part of breakfast or a quick sandwich for dinner. It's a reasonable price for an almost legal clean eating option. No, it's not actually Spam. It is the Aldi off-brand of luncheon meat that has a relatively clean profile. Yes, it has sodium nitrate, which some say is fine and others will tell you to stay away, but I personally don't have an issue with it. I avoid it when I can, but otherwise I'd rather eat this than most breakfast items any day. We buy this to replace bacon, making it a far less expensive option. Now, while my son loves the flavor of bacon, he doesn't like the texture of the fat, and this canned ham has proven to be a great substitute. I can get it crispy, and he will eat this before school, and well, Mom gets to avoid other options such as pancakes and cereals for the first meal of the morning. It may be a clean eating stretch, but it is a viable option to get the added protein into my 8-year-old's diet. So I will be calling it a win. So, real food diet, are you doing it? Yes or no? Because I'm curious as to why you're here today. Is it because that you're embarking on the whole food diet and you were just curious? Or are you somebody who's already doing it and you wanted to find out, exactly what is she taking off the shelf that she thinks is realistic? Well, honestly, the peanut butter and the pasta, those things are pretty clean. The Spam, that's kind of a funny one if you think about it. I don't have a problem with the sodium nitrates. I don't. I've done enough research where I'm fairly comfortable leaving that in my diet. I don't think it's the worst thing. I don't think I should be eating it every day. But if you're embarking on a whole food diet, how are you doing? Is it easy? Because I'm here to tell you that if you're here just out of curiosity, it's not. It's not. I wish I had better news for you, but it isn't. And part of the problem is I hear from people all the time. They're like, well, I don't have a lot of money to do this. But actually, you kind of do, because what happens is you no longer buy the Doritos, no longer buy soda, cookies, and you're no longer buying breakfast cereal, candy, and all that other stuff. And all that adds up because realistically, heavily processed food is actually kind of pricey. If you're buying the ingredients one by one, it's not nearly as expensive. It's going to cost you one of two ways. So it's either going to cost you in the pocketbook, or it's going to cost you what we call sweat equity in this house. It's like if you're going to sweat it out and do the work, it's always cheaper. And it's a matter of really having to plan for the future and figuring out, various menus and meals and all that other stuff to make it easy. It's still a process, I remember when we started, one of the hardest things we had to do was just to stop fast food. And I remember driving by a fast food restaurant on a really busy Saturday and thinking, man, this sucks because now I got to go home and figure out something to eat because I can't just stop. But if you've ever had to deal with a serious health problem, which I had a few years ago, very, very serious health problem, you're better off ditching the garbage. Hands down, this is the best thing you can do for your health, hands down, because your body knows what to do with an apple. And the more you process it, the less your body knows what to do with it, because now suddenly you're adding all these things, or at least the commercial bakeries are adding all these things, and your body ain't got a clue what to do with polysorbate 80. It doesn't know what to do with the high fructose corn syrup. It doesn't know what to do with the red food dyes and all this other stuff, and it just creates a problem in the body. I don't know a doctor who would say, gosh, that's just a really dumb idea. You really shouldn't do that. Meaning throw away the ultra processed food. I can't imagine any doctor disagreeing with you because there's no downside. It's all a net benefit. So either your body's like, okay, we're on real food now. It doesn't really make a difference. We're still sick. Or body's like, okay, we're on real food now, and now I'm starting to heal. Okay, so it's all either neutral or up. It's not one way or the other. That you're not going to suddenly discover, unless of course you are allergic to something. You're not going to discover that eating whole food is really, really bad. It just comes down to whether or not, I can't eat oatmeal. Oatmeal is not something I can do. It just tears a hole in my stomach, and that's fine. I mean, that's a whole food. A lot of people think it's healthy. I kind of question whether or not it's the best thing to eat, but nonetheless, a lot of people do. It's fine, and but I won't eat it. But there are other things. So again, it's all whole food. So there's a ton of stuff to talk about as far as this is concerned, but we're just going to end it right here because I could drone on endlessly, and nobody wants to listen to that. So coming up the next couple of videos, I am hoping to get into the garden. This kind of goes hand in hand with the whole food idea. So my goal as a gardener is to replace all the produce I eat for a year, and it's a pretty aggressive goal, but look out for that. But tell me how you're doing on your whole food journey. Are you just starting? Where are you? What are your fast fives? Do you have fast fives, or are you just like, nope, I don't take anything off the shelf? And I understand that. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate you being here. If you made it this far, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.